This is Captain Rich with Stillwaters Fishing. Join me in the struggle bus while I go bass farming in the northwest corner of Virginia Beach. What follows are educational transmissions on what to do and what not to do. This fishing channel only has one rule: hook sets are free. Good morning, everybody. We are going to go over post-spawn, spawn type of time frame. So all the fish are either close to the bank, in the shallows, they're around structure, they're around bushes, branches, and you've got to start fishing tight. So that means we need to start getting underneath overhangs and presenting the lure in a more subtle way. So we're talking skipping. Before we get to the lures, the line, or anything else, I just want to go over what I refer to as BZO my reel. Now these are Shimano's, but the theory on them is it's all the same. Whatever your weight system is. I go down the line and I set everything at half to start. So I'm gonna back off my windage, open this guy up. So I got half the weights on and half the weights off. That's what I do with the spool weight. This guy is set at 4 right now because I already have it dialed in, but I would start at 3. And I do this almost whenever I pick up a rod. If I haven't touched it in a while, I just check these things out real quick. And the most important part is your windage knob. So what I do is if I can move that spool back and forth, I tighten it up a little bit, and I continue that process until I find right where it meets up perfect. And what that so a little wiggle there, little wiggle there, no wiggle right there. That's right where it is. What that translates into is when you make a cast, if that spool can move side to side, that's wasted energy. That's taking distance off of your cast. And I'm not saying you need to squeeze every inch out of your cast, but what I am saying is it's starting from a known position. So now if I'm fishing this and it's perfectly fine and I come around the corner and the wind is blowing into me, I know I'm at a 0 wind and I need to touch it up just a little bit. That's why I refer to it as a BZO. It's a term we use in the military for setting your rifle back to a known condition. It's at 0 elevation and 0 windage. In a 0 wind and elevation environment, it will hit point of aim, point of impact. So that's what I do with my lures. And then I start fishing with them, and then I can adjust from there. If you've got a bait caster reel that's been sitting in the garage collecting dust, if you don't like them, if you have access to them, but every time you touch them it turns into a hairball of plastic or braided line, this process will get you started to where it's not a backlash each and every time. Listen, I do this day in and day out. I still blow it up, but it's as I say about everything else. 1,000,000 repetitions and you learn how to undo it. You learn how to be more efficient. You learn how to mitigate mistakes. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to go around, I'm going to go over these rods, these reels, and these lures, and I'm just going to exercise skipping in different formats and showing you the different variations of what you want to be looking at spawn, post-spawn, while they're guarding the fry, and afterwards. Because after the spawn and the post-spawn, the fish kind of split. Like some will stay tight and shallow. Here in Virginia Beach, they don't have grass or anything like that. So if you're on wood, you're good. But that means you got to get to it, you got to get close to it, and you got to fish it efficiently. You start that now while they're not eating that great, they're not being aggressive. You hone your skills, you get efficient at it, and then when they turn on, you're already up to par. You don't win on game day, you win it, the week prior, the month prior to that. So we're gonna go over here. I'm gonna go through lures. This is a 1/4 ounce jig. That's where I kind of start until I find, if a different weight does better. Most of you guys are aware of a wacky rig. That's a great place to start skipping. You can even do that with a open face reel. That's probably how more people start skipping, is with a wacky rig on an open face reel. Buzzbait. This is a Boss buzzbait from Fishing Skirts. 1/4 ounce, black on black, with a horny toad. Some people like horny toads, some people don't. I fish it. Yes, every once in a while it will turn into a yoga instructor. You'll get this back. Yeah, well, anyways. I don't know how it won't stay like that right now, but if I whip it out there at 100 miles an hour. So yeah, every once in a while you get that back, reel it in, make another cast. And then, last but not least, a weightless shad shape on a worm hook. So that's a Zoom Fluke number 5 worm hook, right? No weight whatsoever. All these lures are very skippable. The weightless Fluke and the Wacky probably skip the easiest. So if you're new to it, if you're not comfortable with it, those are good places to start. A jig is probably your next one, a little bit more advanced. Like I said, start with a 1/4 ounce and move your way up. Don't start with a 1/2 ounce, because then it'll just keep digging in. Until you get the motion right and you build in the muscle memory, just start with lighter weights. Get this show on the road. All right. So I haven't set my reel up yet. I have no idea if this is going to work. There's our Fluke with the worm hook. So not bad. Kind of point over here, a lot deeper. It's a tree branch. Those are the type of areas that you want to be able to get to. See, backlash, I feel like that's a little tight for my speed. So that's a little tight for me. And I forgot that I just switched these reels out, so I have no idea what this is set at after I just told you how to BZO it. So 1/2 on, 1/2 off. This is a Shimano Corrado, so it's got a little dial system down here, 1 through 6. So that's a 2. There's 3. Got a little wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Right. Let's try that again. Much better. Still not perfect, but minimal backlash. And it's still wet. When I tell you that I do it almost every time I pick up a rod that I haven't fished with in a little while, like every time. So nobody likes to pick something up, you go to throw it, poof, or it goes 5 feet and it splashes in the spot that you want to fish. That was a lack of thumb control. Like I said, day in and day out, still blow it up. Four years later. So if you make a couple casts and you're starting to get like some loops, come back out, give it a whipsy-do, straighten out your line, reel back in. It's just kind of resetting the reel back to a known position. So it feels like it's a little too tight, so I'm going to back this forward drum off one and watch it explode. But it wasn't that bad. This is also an 8-pound test, which I do not. So I backed it off to 3. I feel like that maybe is not enough. So now I'm going to go, actually I backed it to 2, so I'm going to go 2.5. Believe it or not, those little changes on your reels make a difference. I mean, there's a little bit of overrun, but you can fish through that. That's another thing that's hard to do. If you have a little bit of overrun, but you put it in a great spot, fish through the overrun. So I've got a little bit of overrun. Didn't catch anything out of there, but it was in a great spot. So it gets itself out. You're not wasting time, or you're not disconnected from your lure when you put it in a good spot. So there's that guy. Then we'll go wacky. This one's already been set up. I've been throwing it. This is also braid to leader. That other one was all plastic. I don't normally skip that. Make no mistake, you're gonna blow it up. It's just one of those things you just learn to deal with. When the bite is tough, just pick a structure that amplifies what it is that you're trying to accomplish and stick on that. When you get them all dialed, when you get all your rods dialed in, then you can start perusing the area. You don't have to have special rods, special lines, special reels. The reels that I had when I was learning to skip anything was a Shimano Corrado E-Series. It was the green reels. And they had spool weights and they had a windage knob. That was it. You got close enough for government work, and then you made it happen. Pretty happy with that. Another thing when I'm setting rods down, this is big for me, and I just started doing it this year. I return my handle parallel with the rod. When you got a bunch of rods up here, you don't need any help getting tangled up, believe you me. Alright, yeah, we go over here to this laydown real quick. I think we can pretty much bore that guy. So there's a lay down, there's a bunch of brush close to a bank. These are the types of things that you want to look for this time of year. And it's close to a point. Just trying to put everything in your favor. So I like to skip in between the push, the overhang, and the lay down. It's a tight area, there's lots of cover they can come out from, they can retreat to. I'm not saying they're always on that side, but if I had to put my money somewhere, that's where I'm putting it. See how many times, sometimes it just takes a minute or two to get dialed in and get that muscle memory back. Don't think just because I've had plenty of days where I can't get it right for an hour or so. So don't be too hard on yourself. If it's something that you want to be able to do, you're just going to have to keep at it. It's like anything else. You got to practice. Alright, so a little rough right out of the gate. Just another day for me. Alright, we're gonna move on to the buzz bait. These ones are hero or zero. No in between. So, some points about your buzz bait before you even make the first cast, because it will not plane out very well. 90 degrees, 90 degrees. If it's anything other than that, it's gonna have plane issues, which means it's not gonna come up as fast and get on top of the water. So when you're trying to skip these, they do get bent up. So readdress them, bend them up. They're usually good for about 10 or 15 rebends, and then they're done. This is really good for getting underneath, like this branch. It's got a bunch of branches sticking up, but the main trunk of it is in the water. It's really good for penetrating stuff like that, making long runs down laydowns. And they see something go by, and then something coming back slow enough. I go black on black, so there's no doubt that they can see it. First cast of the day, no practices. Can't believe I pulled that off. That's what you're wanting to do. Make those long slides right up the lay down. Between. That's how when I first start my retrieve, my rod tip goes up, I'm taking slack out, because if they hit it right away, you don't want to be in the middle of like 4 or 5 feet of slack in it. Yoga instructor. Yoga instructor. That's a lure modification without prior approval, not authorized. All right, so you see all the limbs and everything else. Really hard to get in if you want a moving bait, like jig, fluke, wacky. You can penetrate it, it sinks. You can kind of like swim it if you want. Horizontal presentation. Hits the first branch, love it. Wouldn't have it any other way. So I just careened into this, so now we got to fix it, because I bent it all up. No, that is not 90. That's too much. And boom. Alright. Looking good. Take 47. When you're trying to make challenging casts, don't get discouraged. Look, fishing is what you do, and this is a skill that you want to adopt. You're just going to have to nose to the grindstone. If it was easy, everybody would do it.